Hello, everyone. This is Wes Miller with Pigskins and Pageantry, a podcast dedicated to all things SEC football and proud member of Blue Wire Hustle. Join me, Jesse, and Matt each week as we discuss last week's games, news around the league, predictions for next week's matchups, and more. And what is happening, everybody? It's Wes. Week 2 is in the books. There were some exciting games, some not so exciting games. And here to talk about it, as always. Well, not as always. It's just Matt this time. But what's going on, my friend? How you doing?
What is cracking there, Wes? And hey to everybody out there. Week 2 is indeed in the books, and we are ready to move on to week 3 because I do not want to go back to week 2.
Yeah, week 2,
I'm good without it.
A lot of interesting stuff going on. So,
horns down.
Horns down.
Yeah, I went there.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
at me, Texas fans.
Yeah.
Come at me.
I don't know if anybody saw SEC shorts this week, but it was quite entertaining and very humorous. So, but we'll get to that and many more games. And hey, let's go ahead and talk about those games.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about those games from last week. First up, actually, this was not the first game of the day. However, I put all the blowout games on the tail end, so we'll kind of talk about those at the very end before we go to the next segment. But the first game that was competitive was South Carolina at East Carolina, and South Carolina ended up winning this one 20-17. They got it by a nose. Matt gets 2 points because he got the score exactly right. So
Yes,
kudos.
sir.
That doesn't happen very often, but it did this week. So congrats, my friend. So
Thank you.
South Carolina down 14-7 at half to East Carolina. But they did manage to come back and win this one on a 36-yard field goal by Parker White. It was interesting because they were talking about the Zeb Noland storyline, grad assistant who has been made into the starting quarterback of South Carolina. And I know that they were saying Shane Beamer was asking his staff last week. He's like, am I crazy, guys, for doing this? And basically they were like, I mean, as long as it's working, who cares? Right. So exactly. Interesting to see that storyline continue as he passed for 214 yards, 1 touchdown, and a pick in this game. Now, that said, we'll see what Doty's looking like for next week. Obviously, they have a little bit tougher opponent. But this game, man, so I don't know that I expected East Carolina to put up such a fight, but, man, they did. And I don't know if South Carolina just sort of overlooked them. But you'd think a team kind of rebuilding like South Carolina can't really afford to do that. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, obviously I picked the right score here. Got that one exactly right. I don't know how that happened. Not thump my own chest, but that'll never happen again. This is an East Carolina team that's 0-2, but I think they're better than that record kind of shows. They went toe-to-toe with an SEC team and didn't come out on top this week, but that seems like it's a pretty tough East Carolina team. But South Carolina didn't make things easy for themselves. They went 2 for 12 on third down, which is usually an indication that the dream went awry somewhere offensively speaking.
Yeah.
Off penalties, they had 8 of them, only for 55 yards grand total, but still 8 penalties seems a bit excessive. And they had 3 turnovers. I think you take those 3 turnovers out, maybe they win by a couple more touchdowns. Again, Carolina is in that rebuild like we talked about, and I guess you can be happy with this win if you're a Carolina fan, I guess. East Carolina is not a team known for setting the world on fire, but a W is a W. What's his name in Fast and the Furious says, winning is winning.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's by an inch or a mile, it's still winning.
That's absolutely correct. And I don't know if I'd say I'm scratching my head at this one because, like we said, South Carolina's got their own issues to work through. But hey, kudos to them for sticking with it, not giving up, and coming through in the end. So,
How did before we move on,
yeah,
Nolan went 13 for 24 for 214 yards. That's not awful,
no.
to be honest. And then granted, I don't know what East Carolina's defense looks like nationally ranked, but it's still not bad.
And again, 3 or 4 weeks ago, he was literally writing the playbook in a film room somewhere.
Yeah. And Juju McDowell went 71 yards on 11 carries, so that's not awful.
Right.
It seems like the big problem was third down conversions. Keeping your offense on the field seemed to be a bit an issue. If you were a South Carolina Gamecock this weekend.
Right. Yeah, and that's only going to get more difficult for them moving forward, as we'll see.
Yes, it is.
So,
yes, it is.
Let's talk about Pittsburgh at Tennessee.
Nope.
The Johnny Matrix Classic. I'm sorry, Matt.
No,
Pitt winning this one 41-34. I was the only one to pick Pitt. I didn't want to, but that's kind of what the experts were leaning towards. So I decided, hey, might as well. But I'd rather hear from you first, Matt. What's your assessment on this game and what happened? And then I have a couple questions for you from a team standpoint.
So we came out looking really, really hot. Defense looked like they were lights out the first quarter. They came out, special teams got a blocked punt. Almost was a touchdown. Actually, no, they may have been their first score was a blocked punt into a touchdown. I can't remember.
I believe you're correct. Or it was at the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it definitely was. I can't see the scoring play.
It was early on, regardless.
No, it wasn't. Jabari Small on a 2-yard run was
right.
The initial score. 13 minutes into the first quarter. So we came out hot, guns a-blazing, and I felt like we were gonna. I thought at the beginning, I thought we were gonna steamroll them. I was like, what were we worried about this game for?
It definitely had that feel,
and it definitely came off the rails. The big issue here, I think, is that we lost Joe Milton. I think middle of second quarter, he goes down with an injury. It might have been third quarter. No, it's second quarter, I think.
Yeah.
And then you had to have Hendon Hooker come in, who didn't look bad, didn't look awful, but there were so many opportunities for Milton to get scores early. Like there was a couple of really, really wide open receivers, and he just overthrew them by a mile.
Yeah. One of them a walk-in touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. There were a couple of those plays that we had a chance, and then they just didn't get there. As far as offensive production throughout the game for Tennessee, 301 yards. No, I'm sorry, 238 yards total, which is not great. But again, we lost our starting quarterback, and you had Hooker come in. So 6 for 13 on third down. Lost the time of possession by a 12-minute margin. 13 penalties for 134 yards. So not a good weekend for the Vols. Made a little bit of a comeback there at the tail end. Had a chance. A very controversial fourth down call. If anybody watched the game, you probably saw that and went, "How did they not call that a first down?" Most of Vol Twitter agrees that that wasn't a first down. And there was a lot of gnashing of teeth, so to speak, this weekend on social media about this game. I think Pitt's going to be a good team in the ACC. I think they're going to be competitive. I don't think this was a bad loss per se. But I think we would have had a better chance of winning the ball game if we hadn't lost our quarterback to start, and if we had done a better job of playing smart football. A lot of people were ready to throw out the baby with the bathwater this past weekend. I saw a number of tweets and posts from people saying fire Heupel and go ahead and restart. Yeah, like they come out of the woodwork after this game, and I'm like, everybody just needs to calm down. And I feel like I've been saying that's been like my mantra for Tennessee football for the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years, but I don't know how you respond to. You just kind of have to roll with this at this point. I feel like, I don't know, Wes, what do you think?
Well, to your point, when you brought up that it was very much a Tennessee game early on, that's exactly what I thought while I was watching the game, was that Tennessee basically had Pitt on the ropes early. And then that's one of those cases where I think you just got to, keep the gas pedal down. and they weren't able to do that. And then Pitt gets a little momentum, and before you know it, they've got some confidence. They're back in the game, and then are able to take the lead, as we saw.
Yeah, a lot of momentum. They scored 27 points in the second quarter.
Yeah, so it was just a very much of a roller coaster. Like, you felt like Tennessee, oh, okay, here we go. Tennessee's got this game in hand, and then they just sort of, I don't know if they got out to a lead and were like, okay, we got this, and like didn't press. I mean, who knows at the end of the day, but definitely weren't able to do what they had to do to put them away. But one question I had for you as a Tennessee fan is, obviously we saw Milton go down with a leg injury, and then Hendon Hooker come in the game and play well, or have some good plays at least. But I know Harrison Bailey, who's been on the bench, who Tennessee fans, I believe, especially last year, were just like fawning over. If you're Harrison Bailey,
I already know what you're going to ask.
Are you packing your bags? Because that's what kids do nowadays, and I can't blame them necessarily if they have an opportunity to play elsewhere. So, what do you think?
I think Harrison Bailey is a sophomore. Hold on, I'm looking it up. I can't remember exactly what he is. Well, the thing is, if Joe Milton's out for an extended period of time, Harrison Bailey is QB2 now. Now, whether he sticks around, he's a sophomore. I just found that out. He's a sophomore, so he's got, 2 more years after this. So, I mean, if he's not going to get the starting job, maybe he needs to start looking at his options. The problem is that I don't see why he wouldn't have a shot, year after next year, his senior year. I mean, Joe Milton's a junior this year, so he's going to stick around for at least another year. I don't know. I can't make a decision that way or the other because I'm not that kid. But I can tell you that most kids nowadays are going to be not the let me put my time in and see if I can win that starting job. It's a lot of let me go out and find a place that fits me, which I completely understand and I get.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Wes. I can't answer that question.
Yeah. What do you know? Are there whispers of like what his shortcomings are, why he isn't considered? Because I mean, from what I heard, he was awesome last year, and maybe that was just talk or whatever. But it seemed like people thought he was going to do well.
He looked good in a couple situations last year, but I think the offense last year was a little bit different. With the way that Heupel's running his offense now, it's more of that spread. You got to have a mobile quarterback sort of situation. And Harrison Bailey, I don't think, is known for being a scrambler. I think he's more of a pure pocket passer, a la, any traditional pocket passing quarterback. I don't know for a fact that that's the way he is. I seem to remember a couple of times last year he would get out of the pocket and make some moves. But that also is one of the reasons why I think he got hurt last year, was he didn't do that as well as he could have. So I don't know. If I'm that kid, I'm probably looking at the situation thinking, yeah, I think I'm not going to have a shot at the starting job. There's only one quarterback on the field at a time. I might as well take my talent somewhere else.
Yeah, and I hadn't considered the new offense also being a reason, but that's a good point.
Well, and I think that's the big thing, and that's the reason why Harrison's not starting. Is I don't know if he necessarily fits that particular offense.
Right. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to number 13, Florida at South Florida, and this one was somewhat of a blowout. It was 42-20. Jesse getting the point in this one. I don't remember if I mentioned who got the point. Oh yeah, I got one in the last one, but yes, Jesse got the point in this one. And really kind of the only reason I mentioned this one is because we have more quarterback. I don't know if controversy is the word, because we also have a lot
of controversy, Wes.
But we also have injury involved here as well. That's another thing that complicates things. So Emory Jones went 14 for 22 for 151 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. But Richardson, who was doing fairly well. Get this though, Richardson's stat line at quarterback: 3 for 3, 152 yards on those 3 passes and 2 touchdowns.
That's a great QB rating. What is that QB rating?
It's whatever perfect is. I don't.
It is 100.
Yeah.
It's 100. It's 100.
And then he also ran it 4 times for 115 yards and a touchdown. I think through 2 games, he has something like 300 yards rushing.
Yeah.
So it's insane. However, he did pull up with a hamstring injury in this one. I think it was a 80-yard touchdown run or something like that. And he kind of pulled up with his hamstring at the end. He didn't return, although he has been practicing this week, and Mullen says he's fine. So we'll see what becomes of that. But what are your thoughts on this one and the quarterback situation down there in Gainesville?
Well, I can tell you, I think I'd call this a quality win. South Florida is not known. Again, it's a directional school. It's not known for being a football powerhouse. But anytime you can take care of business and beat somebody by 3 scores, I think that's a pretty good day at the office. As far as the quarterback stuff goes, it's working for Florida. They've looked pretty good overall. I'd say. Who'd they play week 1? I don't remember now.
It was another smaller, but I don't remember.
FAU.
Yeah.
They beat them by 3 scores too.
Yeah.
I think we'll have a better idea of how Florida's going to hold up in SEC play after they play Bama this weekend. If that situation, yeah, nobody patriophilia. If Florida can hang and do what they've been doing to those other 2 schools and cause Bama to have fits defensively because of that quarterback situation, then maybe this will work for them. But I don't know if you're going to be able to slice and dice the Bama defense like that. I was talking to my my coworker who's a Bama fan, and I said, "Yeah, you're all looking good. Looks like you're going to win again." And he goes, "Nah, we're not that good. We have this issue, this issue." And I'm like, "Are you seeing the same football team I am? Because I don't know what you're talking about." But Rodney's a bit of a negative Nelly when it comes to being too optimistic about his football team, unlike Jesse. She's not here, so I can talk bad about her. The thing is that as long as Florida continues to safeguard the ball, and they don't think they had any turnovers in this game, right? No, they had 2 turnovers.
They had 2.
Okay.
It was both of them were Emory Jones.
Okay.
2 picks.
So maybe just stick with Richardson the whole game. I don't know. By the way, I want to point out Florida has 666 total yards of offense in this game. Yeah, so that happened.
Right. You couldn't get a 667th yard. Really, we had to leave it there
and make it 664. So
right. Yeah.
I bet Dan Mullen probably saw that and just giggled to himself. Anyway.
Well, here's the thing: is you talk about going up against Bama next week, and let's say that Richardson has mostly recovered from his injury, but man, that Bama defense. I mean, gosh, I don't know. I don't know if you put Emory Jones out there and then maybe do kind of like they used to do back in the day with, what was it, Tim Tebow and Chris Leak.
Chris Leak, yeah.
And just kind of swap them out just randomly. And
it worked for them that year. They won a national championship that year, I think.
And I wonder if maybe that might be a better strategy in this one, because I just see Richardson getting beat up in this one.
Yeah, me too.
If he's in it. So
I'll be curious to see how they take that approach, because if they keep both quarterbacks and they switch them out, that means Bama's defense is going to have to study and key on 2 separate quarterback play.
True, and I'm sure Mullen will do that too.
Yeah, which could be really rough. That might be why they've run both of them out over the last couple of games in order to disrupt Bama's game plan.
True. Yeah, and Dan Mullen is crazy, but he's also a great offensive mind. So, and they don't have the same talent, especially at wide receiver this year. But remember what they did to Bama last year, and scored all kinds of points on them.
I mean,
so
they put up 35 points against them in the SEC championship game, I think.
I don't remember the exact score, but it was it was back and
more than
forth.
we were thinking.
It wasn't like, oh, Bama's got this. It was like, oh, this is what's going on. So, we'll see, and we'll get there later on for our picks.
By the way, I do want to shout out Jacob Copeland, who's Florida's leading wide receiver in this game, who is a former Tennessee commit. Yes, I'm still a little bitter about that. 5 receptions for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah. So, I guess things worked out well for him, huh?
For now, anyway.
Yeah, for now.
All right. Next, we had number 5, Texas A&M at Colorado. A&M winning this one 10-7. No, that's not a typo. I didn't misspeak. 10-7. Unexpectedly close game here, but Haynes King, starting quarterback, went out with a lower leg injury. It turns out that leg injury was a fractured leg, and he's going to be out multiple weeks.
I knew he was going to be gone for a minute. I didn't know that he broke his leg literally, though.
Yeah, I looked at that. They updated it earlier this week, and it's a fracture, and so he'll be out for a minute. Zach Calzada came in, and he kind of started slow. He played well overall, I think. He did have the winning touchdown to Isaiah Spiller. It was weird, though, because I don't know if you had a chance to see all of this one, but there was a moment where he was running in and reached over the goal line. However, they said he fumbled before the ball broke the plane.
I did see that.
And they ended up Colorado got the touchback.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously that was huge. And I wasn't so sure. We were at a restaurant watching it. I can see it on the big screen overhead. And I was like, I don't know. I thought maybe it might have broke first, but it is what it is. They were able to win anyway. But yeah, what do you make of this close game? I mean, backup quarterback or not, they probably should have been able to handle Colorado, right?
I'm trying to remember the last time Colorado made a deep run in the Big 12. They're still in the Big 12, right? I think they are, aren't they?
Heck if I know. Actually,
Yeah.
I thought they were
I thought they were
in Pac-12 now, but I could be mistaken on that.
I don't think they've moved conferences. I think they're still No, they are in the Pac-12. I'll be dipped. I thought they're still in the Big 12.
Yeah.
So here's the problem I have with this game. Colorado is not a barnstorming team. They are not a team that's known for winning a lot of football games or being very dominating. Here you have the top 5 Texas A&M team that's supposed to come in and completely nuke them and then wins by a field goal. It's just, I think, what was the line on this game last week, Wes? Do you remember? I think it was like 21, wasn't it?
Something like that. I had picked, so I did get the point. I had picked 34-17, and that was close to what Vegas was saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. Losing your starting quarterback does hurt as a Tennessee fan. I know how that feels. But I don't think that's enough to make it to where you're barely able to beat, they're barely able to do much against, Colorado. Here's something I was looking at the stat line that jumps off the page at me is on third down. And I love third down efficiency because it usually tells you how your day went. Because if you're converting third downs, you're keeping their defense out there. They're tired. It usually means you're doing pretty well. 8 for 20 in this game. 8 for 20. And this Colorado team is not known as a defensive team. So that's pretty rough. Not to mention the fact you only have 97 yards passing, averaging 3 yards per rush. That's a rough day. And if you're doing that against the Colorado defense, what are you going to do when you run into, Bama, Georgia? Who else has a decent defense in the SEC? No, it's so hit or miss the last couple of years. I can't even name it. I would say.
I mean, out there west with Arkansas too. Who knows now?
Yeah. Arkansas. I forgot about Arkansas. It's a complete crapshoot now.
Yeah, Ole Miss, all those. Yeah,
well, they don't have a defense. So.
Well, that's true, but from an offensive standpoint, but yeah, their defense was able to stop Colorado, but man, that offense just struggling. So, yeah, very, very close and probably shouldn't have been. But hey, maybe they can get that offense tuned up under Zach, and maybe they'll do better in the next one. So, speaking of Arkansas,
hold on before we move on. I want to.
Yeah,
I love stats because they usually tell you everything you need to know. 18 for 38 for Zach Calzada on the day. So, oof.
Yeah,
that's a rough day at the office.
It's kind of apparent that he and the receivers weren't on the same page. Again, backup. Maybe this week in practice they get all that stuff ironed out, or at least do a better job. But that's got to be concerning. And that's the thing is, and I heard them talking about this on one of the ESPN podcasts this week. Is the scary thing is that Haynes King wasn't necessarily lighting it up either. And here's the thing is Jimbo is the quarterback guy, right? He is like the quarterback whisperer, and that's why they paid him all that money. Is for that kind of expertise. And here we've got, a guy, Haynes King, who wasn't particularly lighting it up out there, and then Calzada, who just looks kind of, it's very labored. We're really struggling to get some offense going. And so I guarantee you there's some people going, Jimbo, what's up, dude? I mean, what's going on, man?
Yeah, and by the way, I looked it up. It's 17-point favorite was the spread this week for that game. So we didn't get anywhere close to 17 points.
No, not anywhere. All right, next we had number 15 Texas at Arkansas out in Fayetteville, and Arkansas manhandles Texas and wins this game 40-21. Nobody got the pick correct in this game because no one picked Arkansas. So, but hey, that's okay. I'm glad they won. So, but like I said, they manhandled at the line of scrimmage. They really controlled it. I mean, just look at the total yards. Texas 256 to Arkansas's 471. Texas only getting 15 first downs to Arkansas's 21. So, I mean, KJ Jefferson having a great day, I'm sorry, not having a great day, although they were able to get it done otherwise. Yeah, I mean, it's a good win for Arkansas, a good win for Sam Pittman. And they were talking about, because I didn't know this because I've never been to Fayetteville, but apparently it's quite the city. And it's not just, a small, college town. That's all they got is whatever. Apparently the headquarters for Walmart is located there. And the headquarters for Tyson Chicken are there.
I didn't know that.
And apparently logos for those two are everywhere around the stadium.
I noticed that when they showed the stadium this game, it was like, there's a Walmart sponsor for.
Right.
Okay. That must be new to this season because I don't remember ever seeing it before.
And they were rocking in that stadium, and the fans rushed the field. Goalposts came down, which we can talk about that, whatever. But hey, they were excited. I mean, this doesn't happen, or it hasn't happened in quite a while. This used to be somewhat of a rivalry, but then it wasn't for many years, and now Arkansas just put it to them. So what do you make of this, Matt? Especially as Texas is looking to join the SEC soon, or maybe they're not after this.
let me bring things in nice and close. Okay, let's have an intimate talk here, Texas. Welcome to the SEC. That's what I wanted to see. See, I was when the game first started, first quarter, it's 3-0, and I'm like, okay, Arkansas, I see you. You seem like you're gonna try and stick with them. And then next thing I know, we go into halftime and it's 16-0. And I was like, okay. And man, did Arkansas turn it on in the third quarter. They put up 17 points in the third quarter and they beat the brakes off Texas. Texas is one of those teams that I have never gotten the hype for. They had a great run with
Vince Young.
Yeah, with Vince Young in the early 2000s, and aside from that, it's always been.
What was it? What was his name a couple years ago? Sam Ellinger, or however you pronounce his last name.
Yeah.
I mean, they beat us.
No,
they beat us in one of the, I think it was Sugar Bowl or one of those bowls, and yeah, that was the thing. Oh, Texas football is back, and
it's not back.
Poor Sark.
I don't feel bad for Sark. He's a Bammer. All Bammers need to, what. Anyway, here's something that kind of popped off the page at me too. If you look at the comparison of rush stats between teams,
I was going to say
Arkansas 333 yards on the ground, averaged 7.1 yards per carry. Texas 138 yards on the ground, 3.4 yards per carry. Just that Arkansas defense shut them down. It did not give them a chance. And they didn't score their first touchdown. Texas, that is, didn't score their first touchdown until 10 minutes left in the third quarter. So they pitched a shutout through almost two and a half full quarters.
Right.
Just absolutely dominated them. And I love that. I absolutely love that because Arkansas is one of those teams that when they're good, it makes the whole conference better.
Yeah.
It's like when Ole Miss is good, when Mississippi State's good, it's these, and I hate to use the term mid tier, but let's be honest here, it's Arkansas. You get these mid tier teams that are able to kind of surprise some people, and that's exactly what we ended up with, and that makes me pretty happy.
Mm-hmm. And like you're saying, the rushing attack, man, was just there. And I said KJ Jefferson didn't have a good day. I mean, he was 14 for 19, 138 yards, and he did have a pick. But I mean, let's be honest, when you're rushing like that, you don't necessarily have to attack in the, through the air. So good on him. Great handling of the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's where your battles are won. And you'd expect that with a guy like Sam Pittman, historically. Obviously, he comes from a offensive line coach background, so his team definitely getting it done there. And it's interesting. So we laugh about it, but they were talking about it on another podcast I was listening to, ESPN, and last year, and I think we even kind of were like, "What?" when he was hired.
Yeah,
like,
we were.
Wait, and honestly, this might have been his only shot at a head coaching gig. This might have been his only shot that he would ever get. So, kudos to him. I hope it works out. It's working out so far. Even last year when I think they only won 3 games last year, 3 or 4 games?
I think they won 4.
Okay. I mean, it wasn't like, they were, lighting up the competition, but there was something different about that program. And there continues to be something different. And now they're getting some confidence through a game like this. Who knows when you can get a team to buy in and believe the way that he has, sky's the limit, even if you're not necessarily the most talented team in the conference. Yeah. So,
by the way, I want to point out, because these are kind of cool little numbers. This was the 9th largest crowd in Arkansas history.
Yeah.
It's 74,531.
It's a lot of people.
Fans in the stands, which is a lot for a Arkansas football game. Mm-hmm. And then this is the first time that Arkansas has beat Texas in Fayetteville since 1981.
Wow.
So Ronald Reagan was president the last time that Texas lost a game in Fayetteville.
Wow.
That's a long time ago.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, it's a while back. So I tried to find when the last time last time Arkansas beat a top 15 team, but I can't seem to put my hand on those numbers. I am curious though.
I mean, they've had some good performances here and there. Now, maybe not for the entire season, but it's probably not as far back as you'd think. But I couldn't point to a specific date either.
It's hadn't been within the last 5 years because Pittman got hired because they canned Belima.
Right. All right. So next we had NC State at Mississippi State. Mississippi State winning this one 24-10. Nobody picked Mississippi State again. We didn't have faith in the conference last week.
We did not.
But sophomore Lidietrick Griffin, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He had a 70-yard kickoff return for a touchdown in the fourth quarter against La Tech in week 1. But he took the opening kickoff of this game and returned it 100 yards for a touchdown, and that just sort of set the tone. The defense played well enough to hold the Wolfpack to 10 points in this one, obviously. And while they gave up an average of 4.5 yards per play, Mississippi State's defense, that is, most of that damage was done in garbage time. So, I mean, they really did well. Mississippi State's defense showed up, and the team got a much-needed good win. Mike Leach got a much-needed good win. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on this? And I don't know. I mean, a surprise win, right?
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty surprising considering all 3 of us picked NC State. NC State is one of those ACC teams that's always in the middle. They'll knock off somebody above them every once in a while. They always seem to be kind of hanging around the middle of the pack in the ACC. 3 turnovers by Mississippi State's defense is a good sign. NC State kind of gave them some help on that one. I'm curious as to if you'd eliminate those turnovers, what the game would look like. As far as like the stat line goes, 9 penalties for Mississippi State. These SEC teams are playing with lots of penalties this year, and I don't understand why. The other thing that kind of bothers me is Mississippi State went 3 for 13 on third down here, which again is another indication that offensively speaking, you're not staying on the field on your offense at least. Luckily, NC State's offense did struggle just as much. They went 6 for 20 on third down. So Mississippi State gets the win. I would say this is hopefully gonna give Mike Leach a little bit of a kick in the pants. So hopefully we can see Mississippi State win some more football games, or at least that's what I'm hoping. Because again, we want Mike Leach to be successful, because we want all our teams to be successful, especially when they play at these out of state conference games,
Right.
out of conference games.
Right.
I
And
say that.
ACC is really running out of teams to kind of hang their hat on. They were hoping that NC State was going to be one of those that was going to be much improved this year. And then obviously they turn around and do this. They were really hanging their hat on Florida State, hoping that, because of that great performance against Notre Dame in week 1, even though, obviously it didn't work out. And then obviously they lost to Jacksonville State. So, which kudos to Jacksonville State, but whatever. So ACC looking pretty weak right now. Not going to help Clemson's case at all. So, so we'll see. All right, let's get to Mizzou at Kentucky from last week. Kentucky winning this one 35-28.
This was a banger.
It was. We both had 7 as a differential. So if you follow the math there, though, the way the individual scores worked out and the difference between those, I got the point. So, Kentucky, they have an offense this year officially. Obviously we talked about Will Levis last week, and kind of obviously his passing performance and lighting it up with a bunch of different receivers. However, junior Chris Rodriguez, running behind his veteran offensive line, did fantastic in this one. 27 carries, 206 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And so they have a scary rushing attack as well. They're like, you're not going to make me one-dimensional. You want to shut down the pass? I'll take it to you in the rushing game. And so once again, we see Mizzou's defense give up a ton of yards, 519 to be exact. So I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this from a Mizzou standpoint. Obviously, I'm happy for Kentucky. But Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm confused as well. I had a feeling that Kentucky was going to win this game. Obviously, we both picked Kentucky to win, but I'm trying to figure out where this Kentucky offense came from, because we did not see anything that remotely closely looked like this last season. They couldn't throw the ball. The run game was so, and now they're lighting it up.
Will Levis and Wandale Robinson are both transfers, so that's where half of your offense came from right there.
Yeah, they've officially opened up that stuff. So yeah, that's true. And by the way, I'm still waiting for this for Connor Bazelak to be like the end all be all quarterback in the SEC. He had a decent, 4 touchdowns is a good day, but I'm not overly impressed with the kid this season. I seem to remember that Drinkwitz, Coach Drinky, had some things to say during his post game presser.
Really?
I can't remember what it wasn't about Bazelak. It was just about the team in general. I remember what it was. I read an article earlier this week that he put pictures of the logo for because they're playing Southeast Missouri State this weekend.
Yeah.
They put pictures of their logo in the kids' lockers this week as a way to motivate them to work harder or something along those lines. I can't remember what the story is, but I think that Drinkwitz was a little disappointed with the Tigers' effort in this game. And, overall offensively, 400 yards is pretty good overall, but 7 penalties for 65 yards is a bit excessive. And then not to mention they had a big turnover late in the game, I think it was. So, yeah, Missouri still got some things to work on.
Yeah. Yeah, but good on Kentucky. They're looking like a force on the offensive side, and see where things go from there.
Is Kentucky getting the top 25 this week, you think?
This coming week after this upcoming week of games?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I could see that with a good performance, but I don't know. That's asking a lot at this point in the season. And again, it could depend on what other teams do too.
That's true.
All right, let's talk about Vanderbilt at Colorado State. Vanderbilt winning this one 24-21. Kudos if you stayed up to watch this one on the East Coast. I had this game on right before bed. It was like 100. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and when it finished. But Vanderbilt ends an 11-game losing streak rather.
Hey.
With a 38-yard field goal by graduate transfer from Alabama, Joseph Bulovas. And so, obviously we had some of the Alabama kicker woes. He was one of those who had at least one. I know one that I found was it was an Iron Bowl where he missed a field goal to tie it. It would have sent it into overtime. They lost the Iron Bowl on that. So, hey, he's a graduate transfer to Vanderbilt, and he's winning games for Vanderbilt. So kudos to the guy. After losing to East Tennessee State in week 1, kudos to Vanderbilt for coming back and hanging tough against Colorado out there, or Colorado State out there away. So, Matt, did you have any thoughts on this game?
I was shocked. I'm not gonna lie to you. Vanderbilt found a way to pull this thing off. So kudos to Vanderbilt for the dub, getting that essential out of conference win against a Colorado State, who I think is also still, are they in the Pac-12 as well? I can't remember where any of these teams out west are anymore.
I think they're both.
No, they're Mountain West.
Are they?
Mountain
Okay.
West. Mountain West, which is apparently still a conference. But yeah, that's a pretty good win for Vanderbilt. They gave up a ton of yards on offense though, which is a bit surprising that they still found a way to win this thing, even giving up that amount of yards, 445 total yards of offense, and you lose a football game. That's oof. And they were even on turnovers. They each had one. Vanderbilt lost a fumble, and Colorado State threw an interception. So I don't know where the edge was in this game. I guess it came down to the kicking game, which is where most close games, when they get one, is because of the kicking game, and that was sure enough what happened in this one.
Yeah.
Oh, I see now. Vanderbilt controlled the pace of the game because they had 35 minutes of possession.
That's true.
To Colorado State's 24. Now it makes a little bit more sense. I obviously did not stay up late to watch this game because it was, and I hate to say this, it was Vanderbilt.
Well, here's the thing: is like I had it on, and like I was up anyway, but then it was like one of those deals where it gets closer to time, and you're like, oh my gosh, they might do this. Are they going to do this? And then you can't look away, right? So, it was definitely an exciting game. So good on Vanderbilt, snapping that 11-game losing streak, and hopefully Clark Lee is able to help that program maybe get turned around. So, all right, let's talk about some of these other games that were not necessarily competitive at all. And first one was Alabama State at Auburn. Auburn won this one 62-0. I got the point. Then we got UAB at Georgia. UGA winning this one 56-7.
Nuke.
Yeah, on Stetson Bennett's on half of his completed passes. So he completed 10 passes in this game. Half of them, 5 were touchdowns. So
that's a good day.
It's a great day. So then we had Mercer at number 1 Alabama. Bama winning this one 48-14.
Also a nuke.
It was a nuke, although not quite the lopsided nuke that I was expecting. And I'm sure Saban had a few things to say about that. Jesse had the point in this one. And then let's see, we had Austin Peay at Ole Miss. Ole Miss won this one 54-17. Matt, you got the point in that one.
I was close on that one too.
Yeah, you were. And then McNeese at LSU. LSU winning this one 34-7. Matt also getting the point in this one. So
on the tear.
Yeah. So did you, of those blowouts, was there anything that just stood out to you that you wanted to discuss?
I mean, obviously, Bama playing Mercer is kind of a big deal because Mercer's in our backyard. And, I'd work for Mercer occasionally. So that was exciting to see them get to play a big boy team.
Yeah.
I wish the score had been a little bit different. That'd have been so much fun if Mercer had beat Bama. I know Jesse's cussing me right now, but that would have been hilarious if Mercer had. I mean, they beat Duke in basketball.
Right. Yes.
And was it the first round of 64, like 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
ago?
Hmm. I
So I
watched
mean,
that game. It was wild.
but then again, it's basketball. Basketball is one of the sports where if you get the right 5 guys, they can beat anybody.
Right.
None of these games were surprising to me. We expected most of these. In fact, we expected all of these to be blowouts. The only one that was even remotely close to an actual game was probably that McNeese State LSU game. But LSU needed a big blowout kind of to make up for what happened when they laid an egg against UCLA. So yeah, I nothing really past that.
Fun fact: McNeese's quarterback's last name is Orgeron.
Yeah, it's his son.
Is it really?
It is. How did you not? Oh, you
So
didn't watch college. You didn't watch College Game Day this week.
No, I didn't see that part. So I was going to say, what a coincidence. Well, now I look like an idiot. So
a little bit.
But hey, that's awesome though. I mean, how many times do you get to coach, against or with or whatever your son?
And they interviewed Coach O about that, and he said, which translates in Cajun to, "I'm not going to pull any punches. I don't care if it is my kid."
Nice. He was very moved, as I could tell by that speech that you gave.
Yeah, you could really hear the emotion dripping off the words.
Yeah.
By the way, and I just want to look real quick, so hold your horses. What did Orgeron went 10 for 20 for 91 yards and a touchdown?
Yeah.
Let me see. Did he get sacked at all? Sacks? Where's my sack stat? I don't have that right in front of me. That is disappointing. All right, LSU's defense stats. There were 3 sacks by Mason Smith, 1 sack by Desmond Little, 2.5 sacks by Andre Anthony, 1 sack by BJ Ojulari, half a sack. Yeah, they sacked him a couple times. Mm-hmm. So Coach O's like, send him. I'm gonna hit him hard.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. So most of these games, especially the smaller ones, I try to have them all on, but some of them I'm only able to listen to so much audio. So a lot of them I'll have them on, but not necessarily hear with a commentary. But that's awesome. I mean, that's really cool.
I mean, it's a fun little thing,
Yeah.
And it's one of those neat little quirks in football that occasionally happen.
Right. All right. So after that round, or week 2, rather, the current pick'em standings are I've got 9, Matt has 8, and Jesse has 6. So again, we're still just getting started here. So lots of points to come. So that does it for last week's games. And let's talk about the news.
Here's the news.
All right, so a little bit of news from outside of the conference, and something interesting that happened last weekend was number 12 Oregon defeating number 3 Ohio State, which I'm sure most of us were fairly happy to see. Obviously, unless you're an Ohio State fan.
Excellent.
Oregon jumps to number 4. Ohio State falls to number 9. So is that going to end their chances? I don't know. But all of a sudden, Oregon jumping in the driver's seat in the Pac-12. Obviously, more games to be played there. But it was back and forth. And I mean, neither team really played great defense, but Oregon just able to get the final touchdown, and Ohio State unable to have an answer for that. So what were your thoughts on this, Matt, and just kind of what it means for the college football landscape right now?
I think it's a good thing when Ohio State loses occasionally. It humbles them. The Ohio State fans need humbling occasionally. I'm sure that if they ever see this, they'll probably jump all over me for saying it. But I don't see a problem here at all. I'm glad the Ducks beat them. I mean, look at Oregon. Oregon's got good colors. It's a nice shade of green they got. They're in a great part of the country. Oregon's a really pretty state.
Yeah.
They have a bit of a tradition being decent. The Pac-12 doesn't have awful teams in it. That's not true. It does have an awful team in it. But Oregon's up there. I don't know if they need to be number 4. That feels a bit excessive. But Ohio State's still in it. All they got to do is win their awful conference, and then they'll have a chance to play and get disappointed in a big bowl game like they always do every year. I'm sorry, I should stop.
Well, if there was a team that could find a way in, especially after last year, when what
It's
did
definitely Ohio State.
what did they do? They bent the rules like 3 different times, just so
They didn't play enough conference games. Remember,
they didn't
played
play
one
enough
game less than
conference
everybody
games.
else.
There was more, what was it with Justin Fields? Wasn't sure if he was going to be ready to play. They decided whatever, I don't even remember what the context was now. I just remember that on like 3 separate occasions, there were
They were coming up
rules.
with
There were rules that they had, and they were like, I think we'll vote, because it was Big Ten conference voting to, we'll bend the rules for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just
Well, the Big Ten's going to get a
insane.
chunk of that money they get from the college football playoff and all the
Yeah.
other stuff. Of course, they're going to do everything they can to get their team in, and I don't blame them. The SEC would probably do the same thing with Bama and everybody else if they had an opportunity.
Yeah, and you're probably right. It was just comical to watch because it was kind of like, all right, this is the line. Oh, never mind. We're going to move it a little bit. Now this is the line. I promise this is the line. Gosh, are you kidding me? Okay, fine. And
line's way back there now.
Right. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how that happens. Another thing I was thinking about in this performance by Oregon is they were saying this is the best Oregon has done since we saw Willie Taggart there. And I started thinking, I was like, my gosh, it's been a long time since Willie Taggart was out at Oregon. And I looked, and Mario Cristobal has been the head coach since 2018 there. Meaning,
has he been there for 3 years now?
Yeah. So meaning that, like we talked about Chip Kelly last week, so somebody who has had a little bit of time to get his guys in there and put his stamp on the program in much of the same way Mario Cristobal has done at Oregon. Obviously, he was promoted, right, from OC. I think he was OC out there before. But still, having a chance to make his own mark as head coach on the program. Again, I think that this is something that that the SEC could learn from, is giving their coaches a little bit of time to have some impact on their teams versus just, oh, okay, well, you haven't won in a year, you're out. Or,
But we've been having that rigmarole for a while now. I was looking because we played Pitt this past weekend, and it was the Johnny Majors Classic, which you forgot to mention, by the way.
I did. Well, you didn't want to talk about the game at all, so I was just sort of, just sort of jumping through.
But I went back and looked at Johnny Majors' record when he first took over the job in 1978 at Tennessee. In his first 2 seasons, he didn't win more than 4 or 5 games. And I think it got to be season 4 and 5. He's like 7 or 8 wins. And then I think it was like 86, 87. No, it might have been before that. 85, 80, 84, 86, somewhere in the mid 80s. He won his first SEC championship. Well, then from there, it was all roses and unicorn poop. So that's the thing. You got to give people time. That's the reason why I'm trying to be patient with Heupel. That's the reason why I've always been I don't know. It's one of those situations where you don't want to be patient because you see what happens with other teams, and you're like, we got to catch up. But occasionally when you let them sit and ruminate and give them some chances, you end up with that situation. I don't know if Mario Cristobal is going to take Oregon to a national championship game simply because it's the Pac-12. It's a different brand of football, but I don't see the problem giving him a couple of years and letting him get somewhere. This is a big win for him.
Yeah, for sure. It's just going to be interesting to see how they go or what direction their program takes.
By the way, that was the first time that Oregon beat Ohio State in 9 tries.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they've played each other a little bit, and they've never beat them until Saturday.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about Johnny Majors, and it made me think about Vince Dooley also, because he also had several seasons where he struggled as well. Yeah. But this was also a pre-Saban world that we're talking about.
That's the problem. It was the Saban effect, and it screwed up a lot of stuff.
And that was kind of when, okay, we've accepted the fact that we might struggle for a few years, but people don't accept that now. It's win now or you're done.
Well, I mean, look at what they did with Brett Bielema at Arkansas. They didn't give him any time. I mean, they forced him out after year 3.
Yeah.
Pruitt probably would have been there for a couple more years if you hadn't had the NCAA violations.
Well, here's the thing about that
they gave Butch 4 years.
Yeah, that's true. And I was a little surprised. I was definitely surprised at that, to the point where I felt bad for him and his family, because at the very end.
Wait, time out. You felt bad for Butch?
Well, from a human being standpoint, not from a coaching standpoint, but from a human being standpoint, and especially because they did a whole like documentary on that, just the stuff that his kids went through at school, and just all that. And I know that comes with the territory. Don't get me wrong, but to me, it was like, we've let this thing go on for too long, and I think he should have been out a lot sooner than that. And in some cases, that is what you need to do. 4 was a little bit long for him, I think, in my estimation. I don't know. Speaking of firing coaches,
I think after year 3.
Yeah. So you're talking. We had USC firing Chris Helton as head coach.
Yup.
Who do you see as their? I saw Cristobal listed as one of the candidates listed.
Clay Helton. I wrote the name wrong. The name down wrong. That was my fault.
Sorry.
Yeah. Then that was on me. I was the one that wrote that. Yeah.
I'm a parrot. I just read what's put in front of me. So.
Yeah. I don't blame you. They fired him. Who'd they lose to this past weekend? I'm trying to remember what game they lost.
Stanford.
They lost 42-28 at home against Stanford. Stanford's not a good football team. I don't know if anybody pays attention to the Pac-12, but Clay Helton has not done what he needed to do at USC. That's a hard job to win. To win like that particular school has such high expectations because of the Matt Leinart years and the who was their head coach? Pete Carroll. Is in the NFL now. It's just one of those situations where there's such high expectations, and they canned him. They didn't waste any time. And I'm looking back at his head coaching record. He took over in 2015. He went 5-4 his first season, 10-3 in 16, 11-3 in 17, won the conference in 17, 5-7 in 18, 8-5 in 19, went 5-1 last year because of COVID, finished in the top 25, and then they canned him after 1-1 and said, nope, we're done. That's it's an interesting switch. Now, here's the kicker: is I've heard several names that are being tossed around for this. James Franklin is one of them. Head coach at
Penn
State. The current head coach at Penn State used to be the head coach at Vanderbilt before he went down there.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Campbell at Iowa State is another name that's being thrown around. There's a couple more. Greg Schiano's name has shown up.
Really?
I laughed at that too. I'm not sure why, but his name's being thrown around. And then the one that really caught my attention was Mark Stoops. His name's being mentioned as a potential candidate for USC. I don't know if
Mark Stoops is a Southern Cal kind of guy.
I don't think he is, but it's an interesting kind of thing, I think. And obviously Urban Meyer's name's attached to it. Bob Stoops' name is attached to it. Urban Meyer came out today and made a statement that said he's not leaving Jacksonville. He's going to continue to be their general manager. So that probably means
after he cut Tim Tebow.
After he cut Tim Tebow. So I would imagine that he, do you think he cried when he did that?
I think he did.
I bet Urban cried. He probably cried when he filled out the paperwork. Just sitting there, just I'm sorry, Tim, I have to do it.
Yeah, the holidays just aren't going to be the same anymore.
No, I guess Tim's going to have to send that fruit basket somewhere else. God help me.
Oh man, I don't know how he took that turn, but So speaking of, we talked about FSU earlier. They lost to Jacksonville State, and that's another element of news to talk about. I mean, FSU's been so maligned and deservedly so. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this program. Do you have any thoughts on them?
They're so there's a lot of parallels between us and them as a Tennessee fan.
I think this is a faster further fall. It seems like Tennessee was like kind of gradual.
I feel
This
like
is just-
I feel like this is right where we were last year or 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Whenever we had that, it might have been last year. I guess you could call that. Last year was weird because it was 2020. But
Mhm.
you have a perennial power that is in bad, dire straits. They had the whole Willie Taggart thing a couple of years ago, and they bring in Norvell out of Memphis, and he hasn't really impressed anybody. It's just a bad situation all around. I have a couple people that I interact with on Twitter that are Florida State fans. We got into it a couple of years ago about which fan base had more of a gripe, us or FSU, and so I followed them, and so I see their stuff occasionally. They were not happy with this loss. They were really upset, and I feel bad for Florida State because Florida State's one of those teams that you always expect to succeed and be good and competitive, and they're just not right now.
Right. And Jacksonville State is they're a FCS school, right?
Yeah, they're in the can't remember what conference. They play like Kennesaw State and
Big Sky,
Campbell.
is that right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just it's embarrassing, really.
But
So
I think Jacksonville State last year in the FCS playoff actually made it pretty deep.
mhm.
So I mean, this isn't an awful football team. Let me see. They went 10-3 last season. They're in the Ohio Valley Conference.
Oh, really?
So yeah, they went
I see
10-3
that.
last season. They finished the FCS coaches poll in the top 10. So this is not a bad football team.
Mhm.
Well, for that particular spot.
Yeah, it's man, I don't know. I think Florida State, man, they have how far they have fallen, and especially, I mean, even from like a emotional standpoint, you kind of with the whole Bobby Bowden thing, you were kind of hoping maybe they might have a few good games, but man, it's just been rough. So,
And they played Florida State October of is this October of 2020 that they played them? Looks like it. Might be 2019, but they played them a while back. And in that game, they lost 24-41. So they're beatable. Florida State can beat them. They just didn't get it done this week.
mm-hmm. Yep. All right. We have a really brief fan feedback section this time. So let's just go ahead and listen to that.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
All right. So our one main comment from this week was Colin Ford says Texas sucks.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this already, but man, so if you haven't seen the SEC shorts where Texas wants out of the SEC, where they're in the SEC offices trying to shred their form of acceptance
in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. Yeah, I wonder if there is somebody in leadership there, maybe Matthew McConaughey, sitting there going, maybe we have second thoughts about this. Is it too late to rescind that offer? Can we?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Old Matthew's gonna have to say all right once he gets to the SEC, and it's not gonna be all right.
It's not gonna be all right.
It's not.
They're like, can you guys like kick out BYU and we can come back to the Big 12 or something? Yeah,
they're in trouble, boy. I tell you, they are going to be in trouble.
Could be the Big 13, guys. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the upcoming games and make our predictions.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right, the first matchup of the day is the New Mexico Lobos at number 7 Texas A&M. Both of those teams 2-0. That is a noon kickoff on SEC Network. Obviously, this should be a blowout. I'm going to go A&M winning this one 41-10. And since Jesse's not here, she has been able to put in her picks. However, she has A&M winning this one 42-17. Matt?
Yeah, I don't know how you pick against A&M against a team called New Mexico. I don't even know what a Lobo is. I'm just kidding. It's a wolf. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Texas A&M as well. So 38-10.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have the Chattanooga Mocs versus Kentucky. Chattanooga is 1-1, Kentucky 2-0. That is noon on ESPN Plus. Fun fact: Mocs is short for mockingbird, which is the state bird of Tennessee, by the way, which I'm sure you knew, Matt. And
I thought it was short for moccasins.
And their
Like
mascot,
water moccasin.
Right? Their mascot Scrappy is named after the legendary former Chattanooga football coach AC Scrappy Moore.
No idea who that is.
So that is your fun fact. Hey, you get education beyond the SEC here sometimes. Also, another fun fact: who was a famous wide receiver who played for Chattanooga? Played for
Terrell Owens, right?
Yes, that is absolutely 100% correct. Anyway, Kentucky going to take care of business here. I've got Kentucky winning this one 45-10. Jesse has Kentucky also winning 31-14. Matt, what's your prediction?
Yeah, Kentucky's not going to struggle here. I'm going to say 35-7 is the final score, Kentucky.
Okay. Next, we have the Southeast Missouri State Red Hawks at 0-2 at Mizzou 1-1, and that is noon on ESPN Plus. Yeah, I got Mizzou winning this one. I mean, obviously they should win, but I've got them winning 35-21. Jesse has Mizzou winning 28-13. Matt?
I like both those picks. I'm going to extend Jesse's a little bit. I'm going to say the score is Mizzou 28-10.
Okay. All right, next we have Tennessee Tech at 0-2 versus Tennessee 1-1. That is a noon kickoff on ESPN Plus. Yeah, I think Tennessee shouldn't have a problem with this one, regardless of who's able to go out there at quarterback. I've got UT winning this one 42-10. Matt? Oh, sorry. Let me do Jesse's.
I was about to say, don't forget Jesse.
She has Tennessee winning 28-10. Matt, what's yours?
Such little faith in my volunteers, Jesse. God almighty. Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those tune-up games. We got Florida the week after this. We got to get. I think Milton probably will. If depending, they didn't know how long he's going to be on the shelf. So if he plays, they might even hold him out just to be safe, to give him a chance to kind of rest. So I'm going to say Tennessee wins this thing 42-7.
Okay. All right. Next we have the number 1 Alabama at 2-0 at number 11 Florida, also 2-0 at 3:30 on CBS.
This is our game of the week, right?
Yeah, although there's some more intriguing ones later on. But yeah, as far as SEC, 2 SEC opponents, yeah, probably this one. Yeah, so this is going to be, gosh, I could see Florida maybe scoring some points in this one, but it just seems like in a situation like this that when Bama has to do what they need to do, that they are just able to step on the competition. And I think that's going to be the case. I think Vegas has them favored by 14.5. Yep. I moved that up by about a touchdown, saying Bama's going to win this one 42-21. Jesse has Bama winning 42-31. So she
got no faith in nobody this week.
Yeah, even her own team, which is rare. So
yeah.
Matt, what you got?
I'm going to say Bama wins this thing 45-23. I think the score is going to be a little closer than that up until about midway through the third quarter. I think at that point, the extra little spice that Bama has is going to push them ahead. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm going to say final score is 45-23.
Okay. All right, next we have Georgia Southern 1-1 at number 20, Arkansas 2-0. And that is a 4:00 kickoff on SEC Network. Yeah, I think obviously Arkansas is going to be able to do a little bit more of the same. Although, Georgia Southern traditionally can surprise some people, but I think Arkansas has got this. Yeah, not this season. I think Arkansas has got this one, and I got them winning 38-14. Jesse has them winning, although much closer, 28-21. Matt, what do you have?
I'm going to say, I was just looking at who Southern's played this week, and they played They won their first game against was it Georgia? I don't know what school that is. G-Web. I don't know what that is. And then they lost 38-6 to Florida Atlantic. So yeah, I don't foresee Georgia Southern doing too hot in this game. So I'm going to say that Arkansas wins this thing 35-10.
Okay. All right. Next, we have Mississippi State 2-0 at Memphis, also 2-0, 4 o'clock on ESPN2. I don't know. I think Mississippi State might have a little bit of a contest, although I do think that they are able to edge out Memphis at the end. I have Mississippi State winning this one 34-31. Jesse has Memphis taking this one, and she has a final score of 28-17. Matt, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking this one's going to be fairly close. Vegas has this at 3 points, favoring Mississippi State. I'm going to go with Mississippi State because Vegas is usually right. But I'm going to say they win by more than 3 points. I'm going to say final score is 35-30.
Okay. All right. Next, we have South Carolina 2-0 at number 2, Georgia 2-0, 7 o'clock on ESPN. The interesting thing about this game is we may not see either starting quarterback. We'll just have to wait and see, though. Shane Beamer says that Luke Doty will not play until he's 100%. However, he did state this week that he expects Doty to be 100% by Saturday. So I suppose at that point, it just depends on how practice is going this week and what the decision is. For the Dogs, looks like JT Daniels, he's been dealing with the oblique injury since before the Clemson game, apparently. However, it didn't really bother him until the morning after the game. And that's kind of why we didn't really hear anything about it, right after the game. But then it was like, Sunday and Monday, it's like, oh, JT's got an injury. You're like, wait, what? However, it seems like he's improving more each day. It looks like he could go on Saturday. But general consensus is that he doesn't have to. Obviously, I think they could probably get the job done with Stetson Bennett, especially after his performance last week. So we'll see. And also, since South Carolina is kind of rebuilding this year, I think we might be all right. So I say all that to say I think Georgia's going to win. I am interested to see who's coming out at quarterback, though, for both sides. But I have Georgia winning this one 42-7. Jesse has Georgia winning 42-21. So giving up 3 touchdowns to SC, that would be interesting. Matt, what you got?
I initially was going to make my score a little closer than I am now, but then I realized that it's a 7 p.m. kickoff in night in Athens. Mm-hmm. And that place is a different bear at night. So I'm going to say Georgia wins this thing. I forgot to write UGA. The UGA is going to win this ball game. It's going to be final score 45-10.
Okay.
Originally I had it 45-14, but I think that late kickoff is going to give them a little bit of an edge.
Well, here's the deal, and granted, stuff could happen in garbage time. We don't know, but I would be, after you hold Clemson to 3 points, I would be very disappointed if we gave up a touchdown or if we gave up 2 touchdowns to South Carolina. And actually what the only score last week, I believe, was a pick 6, Carson Beck, who got his first touchdown pass, also threw a pick 6. So, whatever. So, all right, next we have a game that I'm really intrigued about. And this is the game day game. This is where College Game Day is going this week. Is number 22 Auburn at 2-0 at number 10 Penn State, also 2-0, 7:30 kickoff on ABC. This is going to be an interesting matchup because Auburn is trending up. Obviously, Brian Harson's got his offense humming along. I think they've scored 60 points in their first 2 games since the first time since like forever. I think it was the 80s. I'm not sure what the date was, but it's been a long time since they've gotten off to that kind of a fast start. But obviously they're playing Penn State at home for Penn State, and it's going to be a whiteout as well. So it's going to be one of those atmosphere type games. Something obviously these Auburn guys are used to big atmospheres and stuff, but it's just going to be different up there at Penn State. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. We're going to see how for real Auburn is. You kind of got these This is not like two mid to low tier teams. I feel like both of these teams are pretty good representatives for their conference. Jury's still kind of out on Auburn, obviously, because it's Harson's first year. But Penn State's doing well, and Auburn is looking well so far. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. But I've got Auburn winning this one in a close one, or semi-close one, 31-24, so by one score. Jesse has Auburn winning 49-21, so he's got a lot of faith in the Auburn Tigers. So, Matt, what do you think?
I hate to do it, but I'm gonna have to pick Penn State.
Oh,
Have to. Whiteouts are special games. I had a buddy named Ted. I mean, you know Teddy. You know
Yep.
Teddy, don't you? Teddy, who's a buddy of ours, used to tell us stories about those whiteout games at Penn State. So that atmosphere is going to be rocking. It's a late night kickoff. Penn State has played Ball State and beat them 44-13, and they also played a top 15 Wisconsin team and beat them 16-10.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they've been tested a little bit more than Auburn has. I don't know how good Wisconsin is yet. Wisconsin's typically a pretty decent Big Ten team.
right.
But I think Penn State's got the edge here. I think that the environment's going to be raucous. I think that Auburn will come out and try to do what they can, but I think they're going to run into a little bit of a wall. So I'm going to say our final score is Penn State 21-20, and that field goal is going to be very late in the game to decide it.
I think it's going to be exciting to watch, man.
I think it's going to be a good game.
I'm looking forward to it. Next, we have Central Michigan 1-1 at LSU, who is 1-1 as well. 7:30 on SEC Network. Yeah, so I think LSU is going to be able to take care of business in this one. I got them winning 41-20. Jesse has LSU winning 31-21. Matt, what you got?
Yeah, listen, this is a Central Michigan team that has already played. That's already played Missouri this season and lost to them 34-24. This is also another SEC connection. Guess who the head coach of Central Michigan is?
I'm not sure.
Former Florida head coach Jim McElwain.
Nice.
So, yeah. So
He's decided not to jump on any sharks lately, huh?
Well, he won't be. He will not be playing in that game because he had to have an emergency appendectomy today.
Oh well, now I feel bad.
So yeah, I don't think Central Michigan's going to be able to hang here. I'm going to say 42-7 is our final score.
Okay. All right. Next game is Tulane at 1-1 at number 17 Ole Miss, who is 2-0 on the season. That's an 8:00 kickoff on ESPN2. Yeah, I think Ole Miss is going to score a lot of points as they often do. I got Ole Miss winning this one 48-28. Jesse's got Ole Miss 49-21. Matt, what is your prediction?
Listen, this is a scrappy Tulane team. They went toe-to-toe with Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's true.
Tulane is a charter member of the SEC.
Yes.
Way back in whenever the conference was founded, I think 1921 or 1920. I can't remember what year it was. But I say all that but Ole Miss is Ole Miss. Ole Miss's offense is going to blow people out of the water. So I'm going to say our final score is going to be, let's say 49-14.
Okay. All right, and then the final matchup of the evening is Stanford at 1-1 at Vanderbilt, also 1-1, 8:00 on ESPNU. Look, I'm strangely excited about this game. Yeah, the Academic Bowl. Yeah, that's a good name for it. I'm strangely excited about this one because, look, with Vanderbilt doing well last week and, obviously they're on a high. Stanford has done well. They're not the Stanford, I think, of, 5-10 years ago where we used to see them in the top 10 a lot. I don't know that Vanderbilt actually has a chance in this one, but man, what a story would that be? Even if they make it close, right? I think that would be cool. All things considered, I think I'm going to have to go with the experts on this one, though. I got Stanford winning this one 31-17. Jesse has Stanford winning 32-6. Matt, what you got?
This is a Stanford team that is not very good. I think they snuck up on USC. USC probably, I don't know, maybe USC was asleep at the switch, but they lost to them obviously. I think there's going to be a little bit of a we just beat USC hangover here, so I think Stanford's going to walk into this a little bit sleepwalking.
And it's
This is
cross
also-
country too.
and it's a cross country trip. It's a late night kickoff on the East Coast, so I think that's going to throw off their rhythm. I'm going to say Stanford still wins this thing, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people are going to say it's going to be. So I'm going to say that Stanford wins this thing 24-20.
Okay. Yeah, I'm intrigued by that one. I'm interested to see how that goes. So that does it for our upcoming matchups. We'll see how those work out and where the points go. So now we are at our Just for Fun segment, and I'm excited about this one because it's just completely ridiculous. And the question for this week is, what two SEC head coaches would you want to see in a wrestling tag team? So we are going with the wrestling theme here, tag team. Matt, I see your picks, and I'd like to listen to you tell the listeners about them.
Yeah, brother, we're going to talk about a little bit of wrestling down here. We're going to talk about how. Oh man, that hurts my throat. Sorry, that was my horrible Macho Man impression. I think the best tag team in the SEC Wrestling Federation would no doubt be the teaming of Coach Ogeron and Lane Kiffin. Let me paint the picture for you.
Okay.
Coach O is the giant silent enforcer, except when he gets riled up. He pulls off the top part of his wrestling singlet because he wrestles in a singlet.
Right.
And he as he pummels people. And Lane Kiffin is the smarmy jackass heel that everybody wants to beat up. It's a perfect pairing. Obviously, they're heels, they're bad guys. And I think that's probably the best SEC tag team that you can come up with.
That's a pretty good one. I have to say, when we first talked about this question, my mind went one place, and that was, can you imagine the bruising combination of Coach O and Sam Pittman if they were on a tag team?
That would be like an old school, like 1970s Memphis wrestling kind of tag team.
Gosh.
That would be a barn burner of a tag team.
But however, and so that was just sort of where my mind went, just from a wrestling, just really just like a big bruiser type of combo. But I think the matchup or the tag team that people would love to see is Mike Leach and Coach Drinky. Because now hear me out, because I'm sure
the promos would be fantastic.
The promos are what it's all about. Now, granted, in the ring, they're just a couple of jobbers and they're going to get knocked around, right? However, the promos are going to be great. And you're talking about singlets. Mike Leach definitely wears a singlet.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And, so yeah, I think that's what the people want to see. I think it would be great. Now, going back to the Coach O and Sam Pittman, I think that might be the most intimidating, not just in the SEC, but probably in the country, because name a scarier duo. I don't know. I think you mentioned Sam Pittman coming off the top rope at you. I mean,
that's got to be scary.
I would be terrified.
I would not be happy to see that coming. By the way, I thought of another good pairing of former SEC head coaches.
Yeah,
would be I just blanked on his name. Used to be the head coach at Vanderbilt. Help me out here.
Oh, Derek Mason. Yeah,
Derek Mason obviously is a physical specimen.
I mean, he's in the SEC. He's just not a head coach.
Well, yeah, but he would definitely fit the mold. And then it would be him and the absolutely unhinged Will Muschamp as his tag team partner. See, dang, help me out. I forgot his name again.
Derek Mason.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Derek Mason is like the athletic, like hardcore, like catch wrestler that's a mat technician. He's perfect.
Right.
And then here comes Muschamp, who is just
rage,
just unhinged, angry, so chaotic. He's He's the kind of guy that gets a chair out from underneath the ring and just bashes people over the head.
Right.
Drinking beer, cracking beers together like Stone Cold Steve Austin off the top rope.
Yeah.
That would be a fun tag team to watch.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it would be the whole time, it would just be Mason trying to calm him down. Like, whoa, dude, just get in the corner. Get in the corner. Let me work. We'll come back to, and he's just constantly interrupting the match, constantly getting involved. That would be a lot of fun to watch.
And things are really getting insane when Mason gets into it and he loses it. So there would have to be a moment like there where the match builds to that point where Mason's just had enough too. And
Nick Saban is not involved in any of these shenanigans, by the way. Just so we're clear.
That's true. He's got a lot of anger and rage, but I just don't see him as like physically intimidating. I don't. Not that
I can't get into that.
Not that Drinky and Mike Leach are necessarily physically intimidating, I guess. But
I could see Nick Saban as like an authority figure in the wrestling organ, like they used to do with Gorilla Monsoon in the WWF, where he was the commissioner. Yeah, the commissioner of the Wrestling Federation. I could see Saban trying to like put matches together and trying to make sure everybody doesn't like fight each other. And
he occasionally jumps in the ring with a metal chair,
right? Just to kind of get everybody calmed down. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Right. One more thought on the Drinky Mike Leach, because Drinky's a cliche machine, as we know.
Right.
And then
that's his finishing move, by the way.
Right. We call it the cliche machine.
Wagons, brother.
and then Mike Leach is over there, with a pirate flag, with a knife in his teeth, jumping off the top rope. So
this stuff writes itself. Oh, the mental picture I have of him with a giant black pirate flag, just eyes bugged out, just waving that thing across the ring. That'd be amazing. Anyway,
and him just looking at like, well, man, there was the ring there, and I felt like it was there. I should jump on it, and just like, where are you going with this, Mike? Like,
oh man, Jimbo's a manager.
Yeah,
Jimbo's like the skeegee little like cheating manager. Like,
oh, absolutely,
always handing in like foreign objects to help out the bad guy.
Instigator yes, to the nth degree. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't. And Heupel's up in the stands with us.
Right.
Popcorn.
And all of this talk makes me sad that this is not a thing, actually.
Oh, it'd be so great. It'd be so wonderful.
It would.
I would pay top dollar to see that Wrestling Federation.
100.
That'd be a great live show.
100%. 100%. All right. Well, that does it for this episode. And if you would like to contact us, please hit us up on email at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/pigskinsandpageantry. We are also on Twitter at PPSCC Podcast and Instagram at Pigskins and Pageantry. Don't forget, we are available for download on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems. If you'd like, we would love it if you take a moment to review and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. We would love that and increase our visibility and tell everybody how amazing we are. Exciting slate of games. We're getting into some big ones, little bit by little bit, and hey, we'll see what happens. Until next time, this is Wes. Go Dogs.
Remember, guys, stay out of trouble this week. Watch some football. Go Vols. Beat Tennessee Tech, please.
I hear you.